Ladies and gentlemen, this is day 188 of a Russian invasion in the ninth year of Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. My name is Andrushenko. On behalf of the Mediacentru Ukraina, I greet all the journalists who tell the world about our fight for freedom. Today, here we're going to talk about the security exercises in the war conditions in Lviv. And I invite Natalia Alekseeva, manager of the executive committee of the Lviv City Council, um, to take the floor. Could you please share why did you decide to implement such a program? My greetings to all of the participants and all of the viewers and listeners. So, answering the question, why do we need to implement this program? All of us said that we need, and we know that we need to be prepared, regardless whether we are on the front line or in the rear. If you know, if you are prepared, you have more information than people around you. Of course, the threats and risks that we are facing this year, the challenges that we need to meet. Um, uh, of course, we weren't prepared 100%. So all of the decisions that were made, all of the solutions prepared and platforms within the past 6 months, the partners that we found, that's a great result and great foundation for high quality further work to prepare the residents to develop and increase resilience against the threats. To sum up, of course, we ourselves were impressed by how we managed to share the knowledge in different and get the knowledge in different directions with the officials, utility workers, and the residents who actively participated in all of the directions, in all of the educational programs, in helping the government, the army, and the city defense and city resilience development. Briefly, if I would just list these directions, I'd like to highlight that even before the war, we started working on this defense development. We started with the universal medical preparation. We thought this would be useful just as a universal kind of knowledge for tactical educational programs and some weapons management. So we started in February and managed to educate a couple of thousands of people, starting from March and April. Lots of different foundations and NGOs, volunteering. I mean, even the Maltese service that keeps working on these educational medical programs. Then the next stage was when we got the internally displaced people. We understood that they also need to be involved. We need to help them prepare because we all believe that they will manage to get their home back. We want all of our people to be safe. So we partnered more closely with the Lviv Safety University. So we started field educational programs in field. So we traveled to the places where they live to educate them on mine safety and prevention. So we covered mostly the territories where such people live, the special residential places where these internally people now live. Lots of children, lots of people. Of course, we understand the kids pick up the knowledge very fast, and the territory where they place a lot. So we understand that the war continues, and we need to cover the chemical threats and nuclear threats as well. And in this direction, the Life Safety University with the management helped So we have such educational programs on a recurring basis. Every week, we involve officials and residents on what they should do in case of chemical and nuclear threat. We have lots of educational materials that are currently being spread and shared in the residential buildings, so on and so forth. So these are the main educational directions. And in the emergency service, we also had territorial defense department, which originated in a very intense work. They had lots of different tasks, but now they're focusing on educational activities as well. And we understand that's first and foremost working in the sphere of critical infrastructure and educating the employees of the critical infrastructure, because if they can't protect these objects, if they help a bit, that would be very helpful. So we started this educational program for the Lviv City Council and enterprises for tactical medicine, tactical preparation, and safety for them to be able to implement in their workplaces. And we'll be able to continue in a minute. Right now, I invite Movchan, Vice Rector of Lviv State University of Life Safety. Mr. Movchan, when we're talking about the curriculum, what do you think, what's the most important bit of knowledge? My greetings, dear viewers. Just a couple of words about the life safety and residents' behavior in case of threats. As Natalia mentioned, we started the program back in February. We educated and covered lots of schools. We focused on the students and at-home education, because kids stayed at home during the lockdown. So we need to conduct a series of education on what the residents should do in case of military threats. So we covered all of the city schools, simultaneously worked with the main headquarters service of the emergency service. At the laboratory of our university, we have a couple of life safety laboratories on site where we can educate residents on how they should, what their actions should be depending on the level of threat. So we conducted the medical preparation education. The Lyznechny region of Lviv was initially covered because they were conveniently placed. It was about 100 of people per group, 3 groups, different locations, where we sent them so they could learn how they should act during the air raid alert, what should be the first medical treatment, what are the fire threats, what could happen in city, what are these common threats for the urban warfare. And after the February 24th, we intensified all of the programs together with the city council representatives of our emergency service and heads of critical infrastructure services and critical infrastructure buildings. We educated them on what the action should be in case of military threats. And for a month, we've been conducting educational courses on chemical and radiological threats, where we share what people should do, residents should do to stay alive, protect themselves, and not to exacerbate the threat. So if people know what they should do, they can help all others around. So we keep programs like that, and we continue. When you mention chemical, bacteriological, or radioactive threats, it's a shock for people who never faced military intervention. We understand that that's a challenge, because we understand that our enemy repeatedly said that they will not be stopped by anything, and the risk of disasters is high, regardless whether it's in Zaporizhia and power plant or in other places. But where should be that balance for us not to start and not to raise panic, but to give enough knowledge to people. As I said, it's not the first day or the first month for our educational programs. Nobody is panicking because teachers share their knowledge and what is the action plan for the state emergency services in case of any type of threat. Everybody should know what they should do. They should follow the algorithm that we developed and that we shared with them. The state emergency service needs to do their duty, the city needs to do their duty, and the city officials and the residents need to be educated and informed, and that actually helps prevent the panic. So jointly, you prepare Lviv to possible nuclear or chemical threat. I just wanted to add, because based on the comments and feedback that we received from people who attend our classes, people actually come to us in order to combat the internal panic, because when people have an algorithm, when they know what they should do, they understand that they are in control of something, of anything. So they don't need just to wait for government actions or for somebody to save them. Even understanding that some simple things such as raincoats are protective and help, so that's an insight for them that common things could be very protective and helpful. So this helps them calm down. They start that they're going to share this knowledge further on, saying that we know what to do. So thanks for that. Do we have any question from the audience? Here we can see that lots of officials also participated in these educational trainings. Does it mean that this part of education is a part of requirements that's required of the officials? Yes, that was a very conscious decision, because we understand that officials have more responsibilities. So every official serving in the Lviv city, they need to first learn themselves before they share that further on. They need to save face to the government, because how can we rely on residents without educating officials first? And to continue, we're actually spreading and scaling up these programs, because we're also working on cyber security. Now that's very topical. In May, we had an attack on servers of the Lviv City Council, and psychological resilience as well, because all of us, we are very tired and exhausted, and we need psychological support as well. So we also try to make them resilient soldiers ready to support the residents. And the last question, you're both experts right now in these questions. When some friends or relatives ask you, give me two most important pieces of advice for crisis, what do you reply? What do you say? I always I always reiterate, monitor the main informational channels of the City Council, because we frequently publish and share action plans, algorithm, and recommendations to residents. That was my main, and that is my main brief answer. Join the Telegram channel, join our websites, visit our website. We have all of the required information available. Should you have any questions, just give a call to our hotline, and our centers for administrative services also work in this way. They also provide additional information. They have flyers and printouts that you could get in order to learn about the algorithm of actions in case of threat. Do you happen to have any practical advice, Mr. Movchan, in case there is no internet connection and you need to survive in a dramatic situation? First of all, once again, you need to stay calm and do not neglect the air raid alerts, so any alerts, because currently I can see even in the residential building where I live that people neglect the alerts, and such a neglection could be very disastrous. So stay calm and don't panic. And do not neglect the air raid alerts or any alerts. This will help us stay more resilient and to survive in case of any threat. We also recommend to follow the recommendations in the algorithm of action. So you should have some storage of food, of water, and prepare your shelter where you could survive. Thank you for joining us today. That was Natalia, Alekseeva, manager of the Executive Committee of the Lviv City Council, Movchan, Vice Rector of the Lviv State University of Life Safety. Thank you for all of your efforts. Our next briefing will be at 1 p.m. sharp. This will be Natalia, head of the United Coordinated Press Center of Security and Defense Forces of the South of Ukraine. Stand